Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com, and this week you saw that Creflo Dollar, the famous mega pastor out of Atlanta, the man who's got more money than I'll probably ever have in my life, was he got in some trouble. He was arrested by the police for allegedly beating up his 15-year-old daughter, punching her, choking her, kicking her, all kinds of stuff that a lot of us would agree that a parent should not do. So there's been some conversation, some disagreement about how to process this, how to understand this. So to talk about this issue, I brought in a journalist for whom I have a tremendous amount of respect, Miss Kirsten West-Savali. She is with News One, Clutch Magazine, and pretty much everywhere else. She's just the ultimate hustler and the ultimate professional. How you doing today, Kirsten?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well, and it is really good to talk to you again. And you know, you and I were talking about this Creflo Dollar thing, and I wrote a piece about it on News One. You wrote a piece about it on News One, and there were different perspectives, but I think that there's an opportunity to kind of learn and understand this because one thing I think we can both agree on is that you're probably not going to get the truth from Creflo, right? You know,
Right,
no matter what, you know, the mega pastor is going to go in front of the congregation and he's going to say, "Oh, nothing happened. There's nothing to see here, folks. Everything's good. You
right,
know, just give me money and praise the Lord, and everything gonna be all right."
right,
Well, we want to go a little
right.
deeper than that. So I want to ask you, you know, what is your take on this? And you know, when you saw what happened, like, what was your reaction? And what was your reaction after you read the police report? Because you actually went into detail on some of this. What are your thoughts?
I did. First of all, I think that it's undoubtedly child abuse. I do. I think it's child abuse disguised as parenting. I think it's lazy parenting, and it's a lack of self control to tackle your child to the ground, choke her, and allegedly hit her with the shoe. That's
Hmm.
there's no reason. That's not parenting. That's not discipline. That's abuse. And so, there were even people that were trying to rationalize and justify it by saying, she hit him first. Well, both of them said in the police report she did not hit him first. She walked out of the room. She goes into the kitchen crying. He follows her into the kitchen and says, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "I don't want to talk about it." Now, how she said, "I don't want to talk about it," I don't know, but both she, her sister, and the father both confirmed that that's when he approached her and put his hands on her.
Hmm.
I just think we have to be very, very careful, especially men with their daughters, because there have been extensive studies showing that the first love of a woman's life is her father. She looks for her father. So what does that say in her other relationships? Daddy hits me because he loves me. So
Hmm.
Johnny's gonna hit me because he loves me. It's a really, really fine line that you have to walk.
Well, you know what about those who now one thing I can say is, and I've always said this for a long time, that the greatest puzzle that in my life that I have never been able to solve is the mind of a teenage girl. And one of the
Mm,
most difficult things that any parent has to deal with is managing a teenager period. And I really believe, at least as a father, teenage girls are just complex and difficult to deal
mhm,
with. And I think that there are some who have old school Southern values when it comes to discipline that says, look, just because I spank my child or I discipline my child physically, that does not necessarily mean I'm abusing my child. Do you think that there's any range whatsoever where Pastor Dollar could have, you know, got into a physical altercation with his daughter and have that still be okay? Or do you think that any form of physical aggression was simply unnecessary and uncalled for?
I think any form.
Hmm.
I think absolutely any form of physical aggression towards a child is unwarranted. There have been, and it is not my opinion, there have been just studies upon studies upon studies, going through 62 years of data, even showing that it's negative. The only positive effect in hitting a child is immediate satisfaction of the cease of whatever behavior you're trying to stop. That's
Hmm.
it. If you're trying to talk about long term positive effects of, my daddy whooped me and I'm fine. Okay, that's anecdotal. There have been no formal studies confirming that at all. I really think it's lazy. Of course, we all have those moments where, if I could just grab you right now, because, if you were a grown person, it would be serious right now. I mean, how children disrespect you, but you have to be the adult. You have to be the mature person. You're raising a person. You're not raising an animal. You're not trying to break a horse at the bit to get them to listen to you. You're raising a person. I think under any circumstance.
Hmm. So what about those situations where you're dealing with a teenager who simply does not want to do what you asked them to do, who simply insists upon going by their agenda, and they're just kind of laughing at you when you're saying whatever you're going to say. You're trying to ground them. You're trying to say this and say that, and the child is still just being completely disobedient. Isn't there some sort of space for I'm gonna tell you this. This is where I definitely and maybe it's me coming, the Southern black man and me coming out. I'm not a believer that everybody who spanks their child is abusing their child. What I do have a problem with is I've seen abuse, or not even abuse. I've seen abusive situations emerge out of corporal punishment, and those situations are problematic, right? Where your answer to every question is because I said so. Where you are a bully to your child, where you basically take pride in how your child is terrorized by you and how you will beat that child and choke that child and stomp that child, no matter what. But so those situations are obviously out of line. But I think that there are millions of parents in the black community, who grew up in that scenario where they had the mother who would, go ballistic and go upside your head every now and then if you needed it. And they look back on that and they say, you know what, I kind of needed somebody to just shut me down, because at that point, at 14, 15, I wasn't even rational enough to know whether or not I have a right to go to that party. And I didn't really have the right to even have a voice in that debate. And it was my mother's overbearing discipline, which was very uncomfortable for me at that time, that actually kept me from making decisions that would have been bad for me. I mean, do you think that there's any reason to that kind of argument? I mean, what do you think? What do you say to parents who might say that?
Well, two things. I think they're not rational enough at 14 and know that they should have a voice in the debate. They're not rational enough to say what other alternate form of parenting would have worked. I think that if they don't, if hitting or spanking or corporal punishment is the go-to form of discipline, they have no idea what else would have worked. Some form of corrective measures were obviously needed, but if you're hitting them, they don't know what else would have worked. They don't. It's up to a parent, I think, to know their child. Because abuse, well, hitting is kind of a catch-all. It's kind of a one-size-fits-all. The child gets out of hand, you hit them. It works right then. But what are you doing to that child? That's what I would say first of all. And then as far as having a voice in a debate, I think absolutely children, there are some debates children should have a voice in. And I do it to my 7-year-old son and my 4-year-old son, and I see it all the time. I've never hit them. Never, not once have I hit them. And I've talked to mothers, I got why they're so well behaved. What do? I don't hit them. I don't. And so they respect me. I respect them. I let them come to me, and I will even tell them, if you have something you need to tell me, ask your questions so we can get it out. I think that there's a problem in the black community. Three things I think we got from the plantation boys: chitlins, the N word, and Jesus, and whipping people. You know what I'm saying? You're whipping your children because it's something that's ingrained in us that works. It doesn't work. We're raising a generation of people who don't necessarily respect you. They fear you. They fear you. That's not the same thing. And what you're doing, you're ensuring that your children, they're going to behave when you're there. Yeah, they're going to behave when you're there. What happens when you're not there?
Well, I think that what we can certainly agree is that I think that even whether you choose to discipline your child physically or not, I think that intelligent parenting is very important to get that child to respect you, and which I agree is very different from them fearing you, right? And we know that there's a lot of hypocrisy in the world period, not just in the black community, where you got a lot of folks who will behave a certain way in front of their parents, who will behave a certain way in front of the pastor or whatever, but when it comes to making good ethical decisions, they're not quite capable of doing that. Well, the last question I want to ask you, Kirsten, and I love talking to you because you are a very thorough journalist. You're that person that really goes in and digs around and finds that information that other black online media sites did not find or do not find. I mean, you're kind of like my little black Barbara Walters. That's what you are. I want to there you go, with the black fist. But I want to ask you. Well, I want to ask you this last question. What do you think about Creflo Dollar, and what do you think about his response in the when he went to the pulpit on Sunday? Did you get a chance to read anything about what he said?
I have.
Yeah,
I have no idea what he said.
Well, I can summarize. I'm gonna summarize pretty much what he said. He basically said that I did not do this. That he said that this is going to be the last time he ever talks about it. He also said that he did not deserve to be arrested. The arrest should never have happened. Does that response surprise you? And what is your take on Creflo, and not just in this situation, but Creflo, period, and his credibility?
Creflo has no credibility at all, and he's not. He's a crackpot. He has no credibility to me what's at all. What he's a man who talks about Jesus was so rich he walked around with an accountant. You know, so this prosperity gospel. You know, saying I'm going to take non-tithers, give the ushers Uzis, and kill them in front of the church, and bury them outside the back door if they don't pay their money. You know, he's not only the blood of Jesus does he not kill people for not tithing? Which is what I said in the article. Thank God he was covered by the blood of Jesus because his daughter might be dead.
Mm.
You know, like I don't respect Creflo Dollar at all whatsoever. So that response doesn't surprise me. He can come back, and it shows his lack of respect for the intelligence of his congregation because he said in the police report he did put his hands on her. He did
Mm.
it. He said he did it. Not only did he say he did it, if you look at the police report, it says, are there any previous incidents? It says one. This is not the first time he hit that child.
Oh
It's
wow.
not. So, if we're talking about, again, there's a line. If we're talking about, I don't agree with mild to moderate corporal punishment, but that's your choice. What I'm talking about is a grown man tackling a girl child to the ground and choking her and hitting her. There's a difference. We're not talking about, I spanked her because she wanted to go to a party or she got disrespectful. We're talking about a grown man using his strength to subdue and hurt a child. That's
Mm.
abuse. So his excuse, and they will believe him. His congregation, they will absolutely believe him, and they will ride for him to the wheels fall off, and they will talk about anybody who has anything negative to say about him. It's a given.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think it is interesting. I mean, when he stepped in front of that church, they gave him a standing ovation. It speaks to the fact that in many cases we don't question our pastors, and I think that's a very dangerous line of thinking because the same thing happened in the Catholic Church when you had those pastors or those priests that were having sex with little boys. And I talked to one of my friends who was Catholic, and she said that if I'd ever gone to my mother and said that my priest was having sex with me, she would have smacked me in my mouth because you did not question the priest. And I think that in the black community we've got that very same problem. Nobody will question the pastor, and I think that it's important to have those voices that will. Well, thank you very much, Kirsten. I truly appreciate your time.
I appreciate yours. I could talk about this all day. I was so mad when I saw this. I was so mad.
I am not surprised. From what I know about you, I know this is the kind of thing that will get you fired up. And everybody, this is Kirsten West-Savali, and she writes with News One. She also contributes with Clutch Magazine and pretty much everywhere else. You might see her on the grill, you might see her wherever, and eventually you're going to see her on TV because she's definitely one of the best. And yes, absolutely. And I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from yourblackworld.com. And don't forget to check out me and Ed Gordon on the weekends. We're in Detroit and DC now on, I want to make sure I get this right, Mix 92.3 in Detroit and WHUR in DC. I go to my Facebook page to find the exact times because I don't have them in front of me, but the show's doing really well, and I think we're going to get picked up in some other cities. So check us out, and I thank you for your support. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.